The reason you don't feel things right away is because at the time we increase our adrenaline, we have lots of things going on in our body to us, we're in that kind of fight or flight mode, so we don't feel all of the symptoms that we're feeling. Dr. DeCubellis here, and I have something really, really important that I need to talk about, and that is injuries after a car accident, especially whiplash, that do not show up until a couple hours or maybe even days later. So this is really important. Sometimes when you are in a car accident, especially a rear end collision, where you're not having a broken bone, you don't have an emergency situation, but you do have soft tissue injuries like ligament injuries that happen with that whiplash type motion. Your head gets thrown back first, then forward and back again. Maybe it hits a steering wheel, maybe it hits the headrest, maybe there was airbags deployed, maybe not. But that motion at that time, because it happens so quick, actually moves our joints past the limit that they're supposed to be able to move. Now your ligaments are there to prevent that from happening, so the only way it can is if those ligaments tear. Now most of the time they don't tear 100%, but they do tear partially. And the reason that's important is because with ligaments tearing partially, not only do they never heal at 100%, but you need the right treatment to make sure that things don't get worse and get worse very quickly. Now, the reason you don't feel things right away is because at the time we increase our adrenaline, we have lots of things going on in our body to us, we're in that kind of fight or flight mode, so we don't feel all of the symptoms that we're feeling. Even sometimes the ones to where they might be worse than you initially thought. However, after you go home, you rest, you sleep, first you start feeling a little bit sore. You're like, okay, maybe this isn't too bad. Next day, a little bit more sore, then it starts increasing, it doesn't go away. Now you realize, okay, I might be injured. That is very, very typical of what happens after a minor impact soft tissue type injury. And minor, in this case, I'm talking about anything under 20 miles an hour. You can still be injured in that. So with that, that's when it's important to really reach out to someone who is a professional and an expert in this area, because we'll be able to look and diagnose and see whether those injuries have actually happened, to what severity they are, and then what types of things you need to do to make sure you get out of pain as quickly as possible and make sure these things don't become worse very, very quickly. So don't hesitate to reach out, but sometimes it does take a little bit of time before you start feeling that pain, and it is still related to the accident or crash.